if I wanted to file it, right, what steps am I going to take to file a complaint? I mean, anyone can do it, right?
Yes, if you just Google Department of Insurance, like Wisconsin, sometimes they call them different things. Like in New York, it's the Department of Financial Services. But if you just type in Department of Insurance, Arizona, it's going to pop up. And usually there's an online complaint form. You can download it and fill it out and attach your evidence and mail it in, or you can sometimes type up your complaint. If you want to do a longer one, you probably want to do something longer. And then there's usually an upload of the documents right on their website. Are you tired of having your insurance claims denied? Do you want to know how to get the payouts you deserve? You're in the right place. Each week, me and my guests are dedicated to empowering you with the knowledge you need to navigate the complex world of insurance claim denials. With over 50 years in the claims game myself, I'll make sure you are guided through writing compelling claims appeals, understanding your insurance plans, navigating healthcare laws, and filing effective insurance complaints. Join me, Mary Covington, on today's episode as I teach you to simplify the intricate world of insurance while helping you confidently secure your claims, relieve your stress, and ease the financial burden of unpaid claims. Now, let's fix those claims.
So here I am today on Fix My Claim podcast. My name is Lee Kasholi. I'm the director of corporate services. And here I am with Mary.
Hi there, Mary Covington, here again, the insurance lady, to talk about insurance matters with you all.
Today, we're going to talk about what constitutes unfair claim practices by insurance companies. And we want to identify, when your insurance company is acting unfairly and what steps can you take to protect your rights in that situation. And so I'm going to ask Mary, why is this topic important in terms of insurance claims?
Well, it's very important because it's one where you are probably at your most frustrated because you're trying to get the insurance company to respond or do something that they're required to do under their policy, and you're just continuing to get the same answers and no non-responses, zero communication. And so that is the crux of these issues on unfair claims practices.
So in some cases, though, it appears to be intentional, like acting in bad faith. Like these companies are not working on the patient behalf for some reason.
That's correct. And you also see a pattern sometimes, and sometimes it's the same insurance company doing it over and over again. And in those cases, there's potential they can be sanctioned by the state in which they're selling insurance to their members. And so it is a very important issue. And we do see quite a few claims of this nature, which again frustrates not only the families that we work with, but it also frustrates us.
Yeah. And knowing your rights, like knowing what to do and how to fight back when this is happening, will help family get the necessary care and not leave, the family member or themselves without coverage, healthcare coverage, right? So
Correct.
Why don't we start the topic about and share with our listeners, what is the definition of an unfair claim practice? Your definition, and then maybe some more legal definitions of that.
Well, an unfair claims practice is defined in most states. I consider it one where the insurance company is just not doing their job. Every insurance plan that you have clearly states timeframes for them to get their job done, how long they have to respond to you, and for appeals or claims, if they're doing a review, there's certain timeframes that they have to abide by. And so that's where we usually catch them the most, is they are just failing at their duties. One might say fiduciary duties. That's a standard term in healthcare. They have a duty to their insureds because the insureds pay them a premium, or the employer pays a premium and the employee contributes to it. So You pay them money and you expect them to do something for you.
because they have
It's the same way.
a
Mhm.
contract with you, right?
Yes, they
And
do.
under that
Mhm.
contract, that means that they're not necessarily following what they say they were going to do, right?
That's correct. Yes,
So
absolutely.
then they're failing to provide the services that you're paying for.
Yes,
And
that would be
that's really, that is probably a really huge frustration point for lots of people. So you went through some examples. What are some of the things that you're seeing when you have clients calling in terms of the common examples of what's happening?
well, right now in the industry, we're seeing more of this than ever before. We went through the COVID period, and it seemed like from COVID time, the insurance companies have become so lax in preparing and following through on their requirements to render opinions. Claims are submitted, they don't respond. They say they don't have them, even though you have verification that they were received. Appeals are submitted, they have a time frame to respond, generally 30 or 60 days, and they just simply ignore it. We call them and you just get lip service and you're not getting anywhere. And then they say, well, we're going to move that up the chain, and then we're going to send that back through. And we call 2 weeks later and it's exactly in the same. Or they said, oh, we forgot to move it up the chain, to get this expedited for you and moved along. And so then it's a constant just dribble, dribble, dribble of bullshit that you're listening
Yeah.
to, and no one is taking responsibility to the duties that they have to their own insureds and members. And that piece can be so frustrating to everyone. And many, many families are experiencing this. We here at Fix My Claim are experiencing it. So I know for a fact everyone in the United States is experiencing it because it's not just one carrier we're seeing it from, it's many of them. And so the frustration level of getting just nothing from them in terms of their duties, I think is where we're at today.
Yeah. And from what I understand, it's not just communication issues. They may like mispay you or pay you only partial, right? It may actually impact the payment on the claim. Some of the things I recall, like let's talk about what happens when we submit an appeal and it never shows up to them.
Well, we send all appeals certified, and that's always a good thing to do because then you have a record that they received it, right? So I just spoke to the Department of Labor the other day on ERISA matters. And one of the things that I asked them for is how about the insurance companies have to take electronic claim submissions and which they do on the provider side, but not on the member side, and also accept an electronic submission of an appeal. That way we won't have them saying, oh, we never got it, or oh, we didn't get all the pages, or, it's not here, even though we have record that they received it. So this is the kind of thing that needs to be fixed from the top down. And they did listen to me in that speech that I made about all of these issues that we're talking about today on with the insurance company's failures. And they asked me, is there any particular insurance company that's doing it correctly? And I said, no, they're all failing in their duties to the members and to the insureds. So it's not going away. And we just have to take steps to make those complaints and make those grievances and, file through your employer. If it's an employer based plan, self funded. If it's fully insured, you can go to the Department of Insurance and make a complaint. And so we just can't sit back and let them get away with it for months and months and months on end. And promises are not kept by them at all. And so we just have to make sure we're our own best advocate.
So you just mentioned the Department of Labor. So let's kind of dive into like what legal protections are there for filing unfair claim practice against the insurance company, and how are you protected, and what steps can we take? Like what's the protection there?
Well, the Department of Insurance has the ability to investigate an insurance company. So generally, if they get usually somewhere between 10 to 12 complaints that are a similar pattern and practice, then they may go in and investigate the insurance company and sanction them. Now, that doesn't help you, but it will help everyone in the future, obviously, because once they get sanctioned, then and that those can be $5,000, $10,000 sanctions for each incident that they find. And so it can be quite a hefty penalty or sanction to the insurance company. And it also gives them a bad report card because the departments of insurance do, in some cases, put out reports of them and what's been happening with each payer, sort of a bad report card on their websites.
So it does sting, right? Like you're just trying to get them to change their practice, like to not be unfair,
Yes.
right?
Yes. So that's a pattern in practice, but if it's just you and you're feeling like you're getting nowhere and you want to file a complaint, those are the beginning of the start because we know once an insurance company gets a complaint from the Department of Insurance, they have a whole separate unit usually that deals with those. And so it becomes more on top of their list because they only have so many days to report back to the insurance company or to the Department of Insurance about why there's a failure. And in many cases, they will correct it, or sometimes I find them telling untruths about what was going on. And sometimes we have to call the Department of Insurance and maybe correct some of the things and give them more evidence of their failures. But I think for the most part, the Department of Insurance in most states is pretty good about doing a thorough review to find out why your problem is still sitting out there.
So it sounds like the insurance company has like an escalation department or some kind of compliance department that says, okay, were we, not following the law, right? And then they do, some investigation. So if I wanted to file it, right, what steps am I going to take to file a complaint? I mean, anyone can do it, right?
Yes, if you just Google Department of Insurance, like Wisconsin, sometimes they call them different things. Like in New York, it's the Department of Financial Services. But if you just type in Department of Insurance, Arizona, it's going to pop up. And usually there's an online complaint form.
Hmm.
You can download it and fill it out and attach your evidence and mail it in, or you can sometimes type up your complaint. If you want to do a longer one, you probably want to do something longer. And then there's usually an upload of the documents right on their website. And you just want to make sure that you're clear when you're telling them what the problem is. And you kind of want to do a timeline. So you're making sure that it's easy for them to understand what your problem is. You don't want to get too wordy, but you want to get your points across so that they can see the error that's being made by the insurance company.
Yeah, like bringing in a whole lot of, emotion probably is not helpful. Just getting to the facts, right?
Yes,
So you're going to fill out the
absolutely.
form, you're going to write up, what's happening. Maybe do you need to like include a time? You said a timeline.
Yes,
And
usually a timeline like, I called in and they said this, then I called in again and they said this, then I talked to so and so again and they promised this. And then if you kept notes, you can attach those. And then you want to attach things that prove if you've got anything, usually the phone calls. So that leads me to the fact that every time you call an insurance company, you better write it down. You better get the name of the person you talk to, and every insurance company has a reference number.
okay.
So whenever you get on the phone with an insurance company, who am I talking to? Write down the day, the time, and the reference number to the call and what was said. So if you can record it, all the better. They record the calls, generally speaking, so you're entitled to record them. But most people just write it down, and we're very good at that. We make an activity log every time we call them. We know how to do all of that because that's what we do for a living. So we don't let them get away with anything. And what do you mean? Or maybe we need to talk to your supervisor. We're not happy with that decision or what you're saying right now. And sometimes when you're on the phone with them, you could threaten an insurance department complaint. You can say, I need satisfaction. And if I don't get it, I'm going to file a complaint within 10 days. And
What
sometimes that's what we do.
what do you mean within 10 days?
I don't care. I'll just put, if I don't hear from you within 10 days, if I don't get my claim money within 10 days, I'm filing an Department of Insurance
Yeah, if I'm
complaint.
not getting an answer, I've waited, 45.
Oh yeah, I've now done this and I've talked and talked until I'm blue in the face, and you people are just not following my policy guidelines
Yeah.
and what's required, and I'm just not going to take it anymore. So I always like to give insurance companies enough rope to hang themselves. Sort of.
Yeah,
So
well, I
so
mean, like anytime you wanna make sure that you've done your due diligence,
exactly.
done what you needed to do as a consumer and say, "These are the steps I've taken. The insurance company has not done XYZ," right? So, obviously, we help with the, filing one of these complaints.
Hey there, listeners. Enjoying the show so far? Don't miss out on any future episodes. Click the subscribe button now to stay up to date with all our latest insights and tips on navigating insurance claims. Your support helps us bring you this valuable content every week. Thanks for listening, and now back to the show.
But what are some resources that people can reach out to, other than an advocate group to get some of these filed?
Well, I think it's so simple on the Department of Insurance website. You don't need a lot. You just want to make sure that you've got a good argument, right? You don't want to be complaining if, it's only been a week,
Yeah.
You want to give them, you want to call, you want to get that history, built so that you've got that ammunition. If you send an appeal and they're supposed to respond within 30 days, you called them, they have it, that they say they're backed up, but the policy says if they want an extension, they're supposed to notify you. We're hardly getting extension letters anymore. We just got one the other day from an insurance company. We said, "Where's the family's extension letter?" The policy says you're supposed to ask the family for an
Right.
extension.
Right.
And they didn't send the letter. Finally, we got one in the mail, but it's past the 15 days extension and they're still not responding. And so we begin to build the record. They didn't send the extension request. They didn't respond within the 30 days. So how far after the 30 days should you wait? The insurance companies are so backed up right now that I give them about an additional 30 days, and that's about it. Because, if I'm late for my appeal, I'm tubed. I get nothing. If they're late responding, nobody's going to do anything to them, you know?
So this is
So,
like a recourse that you have.
yes, this is a recourse that you have.
Right.
But they're going to hold me to my timelines.
Hmm.
They should be held to their timelines.
Right.
Why are we giving them, more leeway?
Yeah.
Then they wouldn't give any to me.
So is the Department of Insurance, are they communicating with you? Like, what is their role? And how am I going to know that the process is going?
Generally speaking, what they do is if you do it online, they send you an email that they received your complaint and that they'll be looking at it and contacting the insurance company, usually within that period of time that the state says that they have to respond.
So it's different by.
Yes. And then the minute they hear back from the insurance company, they're really good about responding. They'll either make sure it's resolved or try and help you figure it out. Sometimes the departments of insurance kind of get in the muck and the mire, sometimes too much. And the insurance company will say, well, it was denied properly because of, because it was just denied properly and, we're okay. And then sometimes we need to go back in and say, no, 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 that's not true. And that's part of the back and forth with people. Or maybe we wrote 2 appeals for 2 different programs and they only responded to one and we never got the other one.
Yeah. So like
And then sometimes
you got
the insurance company may mix that up and say, well, I responded. And you're like, no, they didn't. They responded to this one, not this one. So
you need
you
to
got to
keep,
kind of,
obviously.
do need to keep very good records.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
how do you feel that the Department of Insurance does, in general? Like, do they tend to seem to resolve a lot of them, or is there still an ongoing problem there?
They do. They do. They're pretty good. Some don't touch some things. They're like, well, they're going to get back to you. But I've seen where if the insurance company is in trouble, like they did violate the terms and there potentially may be a sanction against them, sometimes the insurance company will write you and say, we were notified of a complaint you filed with the Department of Insurance. Here's our response. So if that was to an appeal, the insurance department says you get a letter out to them immediately. So you may not hear from the Department of Insurance, or they may just say the insurance company is going to send you a letter.
Okay.
And then you get a letter from the insurance company with, the response to the appeal finally.
And then what's next? Like, say you file a complaint and it's not what you wanted to hear, or you still not get a response.
Then you want to look at it again. So again, claims are all about strategy. Remember, we talked about that. So strategy is important. At that point, you need to take a breath, sit down, and talk to somebody like us who knows strategy. What do we do next? Or maybe the insurance company responded and changed the denial reason. So maybe it was denied as not covered, and you appealed and sent the medical records and asked them to review it for medical necessity. And now they've changed the denial reason to medical necessity. And so then you got to regroup. Okay, what level of appeal am I at? Is this a new denial? Do I get a level 1 appeal again? Where am I? Can I go straight to an external review level? So you want to have a good strategy. Without that strategy, you are probably going to maybe make a mistake. And you don't want to make a mistake, because if you end up going to litigation, generally you have to exhaust all your appeals correctly. And so you don't want to make a move without making sure your strategy is correct.
So we've done a lot of talking about how it works and what steps you should take for a complaint. Let's talk about any recent examples that kind of paint a picture of what can happen.
Oh, sure. I've got one that is an Anthem Blue Cross California. We got an overturn letter on November 28th, 2023. And we were expecting all the claims to be processed because we had it. The external review company said, you, Mr. Insurance Company, made a mistake. We're overturning this denial. And as of today, 10 months later, all the claims still have not been paid.
So they were awarded to get paid on these claims.
Yes, the denial was overturned. In other words, they said that denial was bad. You should pay these claims. So they were supposed to pay them in a reasonable time frame, right? Because at that point they became valid claims, right? Yeah. And the policy said valid claims are to be paid within 30 days. So now we're 10 months in and all the claims have not been paid. So we filed an insurance department complaint just recently. We took lip service for 3 or 4 months, strategized with the family. What are we going to do? We kept calling and this is just unheard of that you would go that far. Now the claims are in 2020 and 2021. Insurance companies archive stuff after 2 years. So they may be thinking, well, when you got to go back and pay a claim that's in an archive system, it's a lot harder than one that's a current claim. And so that's their problem. That shouldn't be the family's problem or my problem.
They knew it was being appealed, right?
They knew it was being appealed. Mm-hmm. And so they've just failed to process the claim within a reasonable time, which is an unfair claims practice.
Yeah.
So they should not get away with this. And in my mind, they should be sanctioned for this. And I don't think that anyone who wrote the external review procedures thought that after they overturned it fairly and squarely, and the determination is binding on the insurance company, mm-hmm. that once they get the binding decision that they have to pay the claim, that they can just sort of drag it out.
Sit on it.
Just sit the family paid this money to the facility up front.
How much?
And they want to get paid.
How much was it?
Oh, probably well over $100,000.
Jeez. Can you imagine just waiting for that money and having to?
But then you want it all at once because maybe you have to pay off a credit card, or maybe you want to put it back into your retirement, account, or maybe you borrowed it from family. You don't know. And it's so frustrating that these families can't get this money right away.
Yeah.
Because we did the good job of getting it overturned. Mm-hmm. All the evidence was in. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And then we have this, goes on for forever.
Yeah. Well, I know that nobody wants to have a situation where they have to fight like this against the insurance company. That's a really good example. So we're going to wrap it up here, right? And I think
Yes.
you did a great job at reviewing, what is unfair, what steps can we take, and some examples where we've seen that on a regular basis. So if you found this episode helpful, visit fixmyclaim.com for a comprehensive guide on recognizing and reporting unfair claims practice. Protect yourself to ensure your family gets the coverage they deserve.
Absolutely.
And if you like today's episode, please hit the subscribe button. We release a new episode every week to help you navigate the world of insurance claims with confidence. Thanks for listening, and see you next time. And
remember, never give up. Be sure to visit our website at www.fixmyclaim.com, where you can subscribe to the show on all major audio and video platforms so you'll never miss an episode. If you find value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. For more resources on navigating insurance claims, check out our blog and free guides available on our website. Don't forget to follow us on social media and join our community for ongoing support and updates. Tune in next week for another episode filled with guidance, reassurance, and the knowledge you need to secure the benefits you and your family deserve. Until then, remember, you have the power to fix your claim.